She was about to kiss her husband. The man killed his wife in an attempt to resurrect her, to prove God's existence. After confirming she had stopped breathing, he eagerly began the resurrection ritual.
God, it is time! Resurrect! Return! Return, spirit! Resurrect!
He called out to her again and again, hoping for a miracle, but nothing happened. His wife was gone forever. He planned to hitchhike home to see his son, but halfway there, he ran into a twisted couple. They took him deep into the woods. The wife sat by the river and stripped off her clothes, while the husband held him at gunpoint.
You're gonna fuck my wife, and I'm gonna take some pictures, that's all.
Faced with this absurd and perverse demand, the man was completely baffled about what this couple wanted. He thought they were just messing with him. The woman looked totally calm. Clearly this wasn't their first time doing this. The man flatly refused. The couple had never encountered such an uncooperative victim. The wife signaled to let it go. The husband hesitated at first, but after a moment's thought, he pulled the trigger anyway. The man's infant son was sent to live with his grandmother and cousin. Since neither of the children had parents, they were constantly bullied at school. Jack always stepped up to protect his sister, but he got beaten to a pulp every time. One day, Jack came to pick up his sister as usual, only to see her running toward the car in a panic. 3 bullies had been picking on her again. Jack quickly drove off. He dropped his sister at their mother's grave as always, then went off alone to deal with the bullies. He tailed the 3 of them, and once they split up, he paid each one a visit. He caught the first one off guard and yanked him off the school bus, then beat him senseless with a stick. He knocked out the second one with a hood slam while the kid was fixing his car. After witnessing Jack's fighting skills, the third one tried to beg for mercy, but Jack wasn't having it. He pinned the kid down and pounded him with his fists.
You touch my sister again?
Only after getting a promise from the guy did Jack finally walk away. He sat in his car, trembling all over. Solving problems with his fists for the first time gave him a thrill he'd never felt before. Meanwhile, it started pouring on his sister's end. To escape the rain, Annie rushed toward the church and ran right into the new pastor. He opened the church doors and struck up a conversation with her. Then the pastor offered to take her for a drive. Annie had no idea that he already had sinister intentions. The pastor drove to a secluded spot in the woods and used his position to brainwash the naive girl. Annie was easily manipulated. She let the pastor undress her to present herself to God, and the pastor took full advantage, violating her in the name of the Lord. By the time Jack came to pick her up, it was already too late. Sitting in the car, Annie looked back at the church, secretly thrilled that she had received God's blessing. Little did she know her fate would be as tragic as her mother's. Before long, Annie started having morning sickness. She went to see the pastor alone without telling her family, but the pastor kept dodging responsibility. Only then did Annie realize he had just been using her. In complete despair, she decided to hang herself. She had just put the rope around her neck when she suddenly had a change of heart, but just as she tried to undo the rope, it was too late. By the time Jack burst into the room, his sister had already stopped breathing. After burying his sister, the police told Jack she had been pregnant. The news filled Jack with rage. He immediately suspected the new pastor. By secretly following him, Jack discovered the pastor regularly lured girls to remote areas under the guise of purifying their souls. He was nothing but a hypocrite. Furious, Jack decided to avenge his sister's death. He loaded his father's Luger with bullets, left a farewell letter for his grandmother, and headed to the pastor's church alone. He planned to shoot the pastor when he wasn't looking, but when the moment came, he couldn't pull the trigger. To work up his courage, Jack approached the pastor as a confessor and gradually exposed his crimes. When the pastor sensed something was wrong, Jack raised his gun again. Learning that Jack was there to avenge his sister, the pastor was scared, but still refused to admit his sins. He even blamed everything on Jack's sister. These words from the pastor pushed Jack's fury to the breaking point. The pastor tried to run, but Jack shot him in the shoulder. Jack was about to finish him off when the gun jammed. The pastor thought God had spared him, but once Jack cleared the jam, he put a bullet right through him. Jack then decided to return to where his father once lived, to finish what was left undone years ago. The very next day, the twisted couple happened to spot Jack on the road. Their urge to kill was instantly triggered. Jack thought he'd met some good Samaritans and got right into their car. Halfway there, the man drove into the woods. At first, Jack didn't think much of it, but when he noticed the gun on the man's hip, he sensed danger. While the man went to the trunk to grab a camera, Jack gripped his pistol, ready to strike first. The moment the man walked up to the door, Jack shot him dead. Seeing what just happened, the woman pulled out her gun and faced off with Jack. She tried to talk him into a truce, but both of them opened fire. The woman went down, while Jack walked away without a scratch. After cleaning up the scene, he continued fleeing toward his old home. Before long, police received a call and rushed to the scene. When Sheriff Bird learned the victims were his sister and brother-in-law, he was devastated and swore to bring the killer to justice. Back at the station, Bird got a phone call. The investigation revealed the pastor had been shot by a young man named Jack. He suddenly remembered the suicide case from 10 years ago. The victim's son was Jack. Learning that Jack was likely headed to his childhood home, Bird set off immediately. Meanwhile, Jack arrived at his old hometown. An elderly man told him the house from his childhood had burned down years ago. Eventually, through a cross his father had nailed to a tree. He found the spot where they used to pray. He gathered the dog's bones and prepared to bury them. This was the unfinished business he'd been carrying all along. Just as Jack was lost in memories of the past, he heard footsteps behind him. He quickly got up and hid. It was Bird, storming toward Jack's direction, determined to kill him and avenge his sister. When Jack wouldn't show himself, Bird fired a wild shot. Startled, Jack quickly loaded his gun. To throw Bird off, Jack tossed a piece of wood as a distraction, but Bird saw right through the trick. He ducked behind a tree. Jack started shouting threats, not realizing his voice gave away his position. Bird kept him talking, while quietly moving toward the sound. Soon he was right behind the tree in front of Jack. He was about to strike first, but luck was on Jack's side. The tree trunk blocked the bullet. Bird took a shot to the gut and went down. Jack rushed over to explain. The sister and brother-in-law were serial killers. He had no choice but to defend himself. After Bird's eyes finally closed, Jack placed his father's gun alongside the dog's bones and buried them together. Then Jack walked out to the road, hitched a ride, and continued his escape.